Welcome to ASD's Water Dowser Mastermind Conference Call. These talks, lasting for about an hour, are open to everyone and scheduled for the third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Today is the 16th of October, 2020. I'm Jay from Northern California Dowsers in Redding, California. Jeanette and I will be joining your host, Sherry Hope, for tonight's program featuring Doug Easter. This will be recorded and accessible at ASD's website under the Members Only section. Thanks for holding your questions until they're called for. And now I'm turning the program over to Sherry.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Water Dowsers conference call. And it's good to have everybody on the call. We have a few announcements first. And first of all, the ASD Digest for the fall quarter, or actually, now I think we only have 2 digests this year, is available online. And if you go to dowsers.org, then you go to the Members Only section, and you'll see where you can click on whichever digest you want to look at. So most of the past digests are there also. Okay, so we have a little sad news. Inez Lindsay, who's been chapter president of the San Diego chapter for over 30 years, passed away recently. And so she was a friend of a lot of the Dowsers. She was a friend of mine. She helped me a lot at the West Coast Conference when I went to one of them and was learning about dowsing. And it's kind of funny because I was sitting there having lunch, and we always sit in the cafeteria and have lunch with all the other dowsers, and it's kind of fun because we learn a lot that way. And so I was trying to get an answer to a question, so I asked her if she'd douse it for me. And she told me, there's only one way you're going to learn to douse, and that's to douse it yourself. So I remembered that. So she was just a big help to me. And the last email I got from her was the first part of October. And so she always kept me in the loop about what she was doing, and she also did astrology and different things and numerology, and so she's very knowledgeable about a lot of different subjects. Now, she was on our Water Dowsers conference call, and Jeanette, did you happen to look up the date for when Inez spoke on our call?
Not yet, but I'll look it up right now.
Okay. All right, great. All right, let's see. Okay, while you're looking that up, Susan, can you give your announcement, please?
Your what?
Yep. Hi, this is Susan Spooler, president of the Boston Dowsers and director of the Flagstaff Dowser Conference that we'll be having in Flagstaff, Arizona, October 6th to the 13th, 2021. So in 11 months, we'll be having this amazing conference. It'll be held at the Flagstaff Little America Hotel. We've got an excellent rate of $149 per night for the conference, and if you go there at that time of year as a regular person, the rooms are basically $300 a night, so we're getting an excellent deal. The website, www.dowserssouthwest.com. We're adding more information, and we're confirming speakers. So if you have any speakers that you would like to see, if you're planning to come, we'll take your suggestions. And we have a lot of exciting things going on at the conference. We'll be having a field trip to Sedona to visit the vortices, the vortex areas, and it's right near the Grand Canyon. So it's a beautiful, beautiful area. If anyone's ever been out to northern Arizona, it's phenomenal. So we looking forward to seeing everybody. So thank you.
Thanks for your announcement, Susan. I'm looking forward to it because I've never been there before, so that sounds exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Marty Kane will be Marty Kane's going to be one of our speakers.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty has a lot of experience in dowsing, and hopefully she'll be able to be on the call next month and be our main speaker.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing that.
All right. Jeanette, did you find that information yet?
Yes, I have a list of a variety of dowsers, all listed under February 2018. And so it has Inez listed there with Rob Thompson, Carol Gator, Sherry Hope, and Ed Stillman.
So that's an excellent talk. I think that was one of our first ones, wasn't it?
Yes. So I'm looking forward to visiting that again. And thank you, Inez, for the good work you did. And we sent friends of ours down to go to Inez's Dowser chapter. So all the sister chapters, we all work together, and we like to help one another. And there's always something to learn from somebody, and just to have a sounding board. So I can't thank Inez for her contribution for the Dowsers.
Thanks, Jeanette. Did you have
any? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say if you had any other announcements.
Yes, as one of our other kind of sister chapters, but someone who has contributed quite a bit in dowsing is the Ozark Research Institute, started with Gladys McCoy and her husband Harold McCoy, and they actually have been doing offerings of free meditations on Tuesday evening. So those people who are not interested, or who don't even know about them, please visit www.ozarkresearch.org. And right now, Gladys and her team have compiled a group of people of just free 20-minute conversations of dowsing and meditations and sounds, and that's free, still going on for 2 years. Gladys has had this for going strong for 25 years. The ORI, it's all free will donation. So you might, for those who are new, you may want to check it out. And for those of you who are already familiar, please visit and support those speakers who donated their time as well. And as far as announcements, I think that's about it. Just thank you, everybody. Looking forward to hearing about Doug's personal experience today. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Jeanette, for your announcements. Yeah, great. So tonight I've got Doug Easter as a guest speaker, and he is from Vermont. He lives a little bit north of the actually ASD headquarters. And so I've talked to him several times over the last 3-4 weeks and learned a lot about some of his water dowsing experiences, which were very interesting. And Doug, believe it or not, has been water dowsing since 1971. You got me beat, Doug.
Good. That's good. I don't mean much, so.
Well, tell us more about yourself. I know that you also are a carpenter. Is that correct?
I was. I'm retired now, obviously, because I'm old. I'm old as dirt, so I'm old. No, I've been a contractor carpenter for 50 years probably. So yeah, that's what I did until I retired here recently.
So tell everybody how you got started in dowsing. How'd you learn about it?
Here we go. Am I the only guy on this call?
No.
Are there any other males on this call?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Well, yes, there are.
What was that have to do with anything?
You're not alone.
Good, thanks. I'm glad. Anyway, okay, the question was...
How'd you learn about dowsing? How'd you get started?
How'd I get started dowsing? Okay, I'm going to make this as quick as possible so it's not so painful. I was building a house. I was building a house in a local town close to me called Concord, Vermont. which is only about 15, 20 miles from me. And I lived in St. Johnsbury at the time, and from friends and acquaintances type deal. Knew the Dowser, the president of the Dowser Association in Danville at the time, in 1971 actually. So it was all worked out. So I could meet up with him when he come to town. He actually lived in New York, but he was the president of the Dowser Deal in Danville. So anyway, he came to town, St. Johnsbury, and we met because I wanted to build a new house, and we all need water at some point. So it was set up to meet with him, and I met with him, and we went up to my property, and he did his thing. He did his dowsing and with the pendulum, which fascinated me. Of course, in 71, I'm standing in, I'm watching him, and work his pendulum, and I knelt right down to make sure he wasn't moving his hand. I mean, literally, I was staring at his hand. I'm going, because the pendulum started swinging, as you all know, a few dowses back and forth, and I'm going, what the heck's going on? So, anyways, he did his thing. He said, yeah, right here, just right here, you'll be all set. Apparently, whatever. So on the way back, like I say, it's about 15 miles from St. Johnsbury, and I worked at that point, I actually worked in a greenhouse at the time. And so we got back to the parking lot, and I asked him all these questions on the way home. So we got out of the car, and he says to me, well, would you like to try it? And I goes, well, sure. And so he did his thing. He's in the driveway, and he did his thing with the pendulum and stuff. And he said, well, there's a water line that goes up to this house up above, up on the hill from where we were standing. And he says, I want you to tell me how far away that water line is from where we are. So I goes, okay. And he takes and wraps the string around my finger type deal, and he said, well, just ask it, if that water line is whatever, 10 feet away, 20 feet away, 30 feet away, whatever. I goes, okay. So I did. So I'm standing there, and I'm holding on the string and hold my finger tight as I can, or hold on the string as steady as I can, and start swinging back and forth. And I go, you got to be kidding me, obviously, because it surprised me. So I did my thing, and it got up to, I don't know if that's exactly the distance it told me or not, but I'd say 60 feet. So I did my thing, and it just stopped. I got to 60 feet, and it just stopped swinging. So I undid it off my finger and stuff, and he said, so what'd you get? I said, I got 60 feet. He literally took his finger and tapped me on the chest and says, you should take up dowsing. And that's how it started, and I've been going to seminars and everything ever since that day. That was in 1971 that took place. So then that fall, I went to the Danville, the Danville seminar type deal, thing that they used to have back then, and they sold all the sticks and pendulums and stones and books and all that stuff at the place, and that's how it all got started right there. But that's how I literally got started dowsing, was that day that he went to my property. And, so that's the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you remember his name?
I have no idea. 1971.
Oh, okay.
Sweetie.
71.
Yeah. So.
That's a ways back. Okay.
That's a ways back. Yeah, it was 49 years ago.
So then, what happened after that? How did you get started actually dowsing wells for people? Well,
it didn't happen overnight, obviously. It took obviously, as you all know, if anybody, I'm sure you've all been in the same boat. You don't start right out telling people to drill here, drill there.
Right.
It took me time. It took me, some period of time, but it took. I don't know what year I started my first actually dowsing somebody's well and say, well, I think you're right here and drill here. Maybe you'll get something. I don't know. But it took years to do that. But I will tell you this story because it's a good one. That first year in 1971, and this is in the summertime that we did all this at my property that the house I was building. So in the fall, like I say, they had to get together of all the stuff at the town hall in Danville, and the whole is upstairs, and the whole upstairs perimeter was lined with tables with all the stuff on it. Like I said, the books and the pendulums and whatever, all the paraphernalia for dowsing. So I was up there for about an hour. I went up. It was the early evening in the fall, probably September, I guess. So I goes up, and there's a lot of people in there. Obviously, in '71 there was a lot of dowsers around this whole area, and they come from all over the place. Obviously, to go to this place. So I get there, and of course, a greenhorn here, and I go around the room and I look at this and I look at that, and whatever. It's like about an hour later, and I'm going, I got to get out of here. My video. So I went over to this table where they had all these sticks and dowsing rods or whatever you want to say, and so it's ironic because if you saw a picture of me, I have a beard now and stuff, that I didn't have back then. There's an old guy standing there. I call him an old guy because I'm the old guy now. But there's an old guy standing there, big beard and stuff, and by the table had all these rods and stuff, and I looked up to him. I said, "Hey, how do you know which one of these things to buy anyway? They were the rods were for sale for different shapes and sizes." And he says, "Well, that's young fella," he says to me. He says, "Well, young fella, just pick it up and ask it if that's a stick for you or not." I goes, "Okay," and he walks off, and I'm standing there by myself and looking at these sticks and whatever, or rods, or whatever you want to call them, sticks, rods. So I says, I'm kind of looking around, and so I picked one of these sticks out, and I literally, God done the truth. I literally looked over my shoulder this way, and looked over my shoulder that way, make sure nobody's watching me. I picked that stick up, and I says, "Is this a stick for me?" Nothing happened. So I put it down, and I moved to the next place, move down the table and pick up another one. Look over my shoulder, make sure nobody's watching me. And I say this all to myself. All my doubt, and I say to myself, nothing out loud. I said, "This a stick for me?" Nothing happened. Third stick, I guess, whatever. Third, fourth stick, whatever. "Is this a stick for me?" And it just went down. I couldn't hold it. Obviously, it just drew down when she went. And I told the person there behind the thing, I said, "I'll take this one." And I paid $1 for it. And I used it until it finally, it was pink. It made a really thin, small bamboo type material. The stick was, and had a red wire nut on the end of it. I had that stick today in my basement on a shelf.
Wow.
But I held on it. When I do my dowsing, I hold on it without everything I got. I can't squeeze it any harder than I am. So finally, after years of using it, it actually twisted, so bad that it actually was breaking in my hand. And twisting so bad I couldn't use it anymore. And it literally is in my basement. And that's how I got started with my dowsing equipment, I guess, sticks and whatever. And of course, then I made L rods and I used those to find water lines going into buildings and stuff. That's how it all got started.
So then, what did you do for a Y rod after that?
I just went to the dowser deal in Danville, and I picked those sticks up in Danville and asked if it was a stick for me. And one of them worked, and I took it home. And I've lost sticks over the years too.
Yeah.
From some different, I got some suspects about one of my ex-wives. I don't care for this dowsing deal. She never cared for the dowsing deal. Born again Christian lady. She's a fine lady. It's just she didn't like the idea of dowsing. I think one of the best sticks I ever had. I have no idea where it ended up, but I couldn't find it. So I've used a lot of different sticks. They're just plastic tubing. They really are. They're just plastic tubing. And the one I'm using now is plastic, but it's solid plastic. It's probably about 1/8 inch. It's about an 1/8 inch thickness of a rod that I'm using right now. But it responds really good for me, so that's what I'm using, today. Every time I lose one or something, or lose a couple, I go to Danville and try out the sticks. And it's a year we had a drought too. It was 1991 actually. I didn't have a stick, so I had probably 10, 12 wells that people wanted me to go douse for them, and I had no stick. And I went to the dowsers deal in Danville again, and to do that, and I picked up every stick they had. None of them worked. I go, what am I going to do now? So before I left, the lady I was talking to that worked there, she said, well, wait a minute. She says, come with me. So we went, in another room, and then she got in a closet, and there's took out a cardboard box, and in that box is a bunch of plastic tube, dowsing sticks that they use to give dowsing classes with. Every Tuesday they used to give dowsing classes at Danville for the students. They, it was rod they used to give to the students to dowse with, or try to learn how to dowse, or teach them how to dowse, I guess. She said, well, what about one of these? So I picked one of them up, if you want you to give it to me. And I handed it on to him, and this stick, this is a stick for me. And it actually worked. It actually went down. I goes, that, obviously I was pretty happy about that, because I didn't have one at that point. So it worked. And, she actually gave me a couple of them. He said, well, you better take two in case you lose one or something. And that's what I did. That's how I got my other sticks, and I've been using them ever since. They're just plastic tubing. But they work. So far they've worked. Up to this day, anyways.
Great.
And that's what I use today. So it was interesting.
Well, tell us about your favorite dowsing experience, like for a water well.
I don't know if I have a favorite one. I'll tell you this one. I'm trying to go back to, since I started it. It's a long time ago to think of the favorite one. I will say this though. I have five to this date right now, true artesians that actually overflow. Which is pretty rare. It's rare around this area anyway.
Yeah.
But my favorite one literally happened this springtime, early spring, probably April, I guess. March, April. It was in a town called Charlotte, Vermont, which is over near Lake Champlain. And it was a realtor that called me up to ask me if I'd come over there to dowse. And I said, and I go all over the state, and then New Hampshire, and I've gone into Maine and different places dowsing over the years here. So I said, yeah, I'll go over there. So, I got my thing, and I went. But he also said, I want to forewarn you, there ain't no water in this area over here. So I'm thinking to myself, usually I can find something, according to the stick anyway, that gives you the answers that you're asking for. You can usually find, at least 5 gallons a minute at least. And I usually don't mark them unless I find 5 gallons a minute for somebody's house. That's what the state of Vermont actually goes by, 5 gallons a minute at 100 feet is what they recommend for a household of 4 people. So I usually try not to, unless there's not any in the area, I don't really mark them until I find something that's got at least 5 gallons a minute. So anyway, he says, this is probably one of my favorite stories, like you asked for. He said, ain't no water in this area you're going to be dowsing in. I go, what do you mean by that? He says, well, the wells here, there's a lot of wells in this area you're going to be dowsing in. That you got a half a gallon a minute, 2 gallons a minute, or a bunch of holes that have been drilling in their dry holes. They got nothing, 500-600 feet and got no water at all. I go, really? He said, yeah, this whole area. I'm just going to forewarn you. There's not a lot of water in this area. So I says, to myself, I'm out of bed to find at least 5 gallons a minute somewhere. Well, I got there and met him, and I met and this realtor. All he does is sell property. He don't sell houses. He just sells property in this area over there, which is near Burlington, south of Burlington. So I says, I met with him and potential owner. And the owner got permission to drill a well on the property before he bought it, which is pretty rare. You think about it. I mean, somebody usually buy the property and then, hopefully they can find water on it. But he actually got permission to drill his hole because I guess the owner said, well, it's your nickel. You want to drill a hole? Go ahead. So I met with him and I started doing my dowsing process here, and I bet I was there for 4 hours at this place, and I'm going hundreds of yards, probably 200 yards altogether, maybe 150 yards up this old roadway. It used to be a tree farm. This old roadway that in the tree farm part there. And I wanted, to make it easy to walk, as you all well know, if you did any dowsing out in the woods type deal. It's you want to take the easiest path you can find. Obviously, I do anyway, instead of going over sticks and stumps and whatever. So I'm walking up the roadway. As you well know, you find a vein, you can chase it, like I have in the past. So I'm walking up this old roadway and stuff, and I get a vein. I go, okay, and first thing I do is ask for gallons a minute because I don't want to start. Is this 200 feet deep or 300 feet deep, and then find out there ain't no water in it, or any amount of water anyway. So I start with my gallons a minute in the direction that's flowing in. I ask that right off the bat. Make a circle and get the direction it flows in. So I did that. I bet I marked, I don't know, 15 spots on that roadway. I'd ask, will it produce a gallon a minute? And my stick I'm using never moved. And I go, holy smokes. Some wouldn't even, so it wouldn't even be a gallon a minute. So then I'd go to half a gallon a minute. And it just starts bending really, really slow. And my normal deal, it just, as you well know, if you're all dowsers, water dowsers anyways, just if you get it gallons a minute and you're asking for gallons a minute, it just goes down. There ain't no hesitation. It just down she goes, and then you do your process after that. So a gallon a minute never moved, and I goes, holy smoke, a half gallon a minute, and it just starts bending. Don't forget, like I told you, I was there for 4 hours doing this. The most amount of water I found was 2.5 gallons in 4 hours of dowsing. Now, at this point, this is the summer now, this is the springtime. At this point, all the wells that I've done, deep wells, I should say, all the wells that I've done, and that I know about, and I ask people to call me, let me know how you make out, tell me how deep it is, and how deep the hole is, and how many gallons a minute you get. And a lot of people do, and a lot of people have, and I have some people that haven't, so I really can't tell you about whether they got water or not. If they don't call me, I can't tell you. I don't know. But most people call me. I said, well, listen. I said, call me and let me know how you make out, because at this point here, this springtime, I haven't had a dry drill hole to this point. So this one really had me nervous because it's only 2.5 gallons, all I could get. So this is the least amount of water I've ever got, or asked for, and got the results of. That's not a lot of water, 2.5 gallons of water, as you all know. So I said, oh yeah, I'll let you know. And I goes, so I come home and told my wife here, I said, well, of all the wells I've done up to this point, this one's got me the most nervous because there ain't no water, there ain't much water there. So anyways, as you well know, time went on and they drilled it. And the guy called me up, the realtor called me up and says, well, your record's still good. And I goes, right my forehead type deal. Like I say, I'm nervous about this one. So he says, he says the driller got 2 gallons a minute going to the driller. And I goes, well, I can live with that. Then I said 2.5. The driller says he's got 2. I can live with that. And I guess I said that 180 feet, and they got it at 310. But actually when they hit the vein, I guess 2 gallons a minute, and they fractured it. They actually ended up fracturing it. But here's the best part of this story, and this, like I say, is one of the best, one of my better stories lately. Is they got they fractured it and all that stuff, and I guess they got according to the driller, 2.5 gallons a minute is what he's saying after they fractured it. So I got to go back just a little bit here because I called up once I got home and I told the realtor, tell the owner, he says, have him go at least 500 feet, 2.5 gallons a minute. Have him go at least 500 feet so he has storage if they get, if they get the water that I said, 2.5 gallons a minute. You want to have some storage on that thing. And he said, yeah, no problem. So they got the 2 gallons a minute and fractured it. I guess I don't know if they fractured it that depth after they got it or not, but they ended up fracking it. So apparently, the realtor told the owner to go at least 500 feet. But they ended up drilling that hole 1,000 feet. So they got a 1,000-foot hole. They got a 1,000-foot hole, basically at 2.5 gallons a minute. And apparently, this is the part that really it don't make no sense to me. They drill a 1,000-foot hole, and I know what the deal is. The potential buyer obviously said, "When you go deeper, you get more water." Not always the case. I don't believe that. Then maybe sometimes it works, or you do, and sometimes you don't. But in this case, they didn't. They didn't get any more water. So they're gonna put the pump down at 500 feet. And I'm going, what's wrong with this picture? You got a 1,000-foot hole, and it's staticked out. Actually, it's staticked out about 30 feet below surface is where it's staticked out at. But they're going to put a pump at 500 feet, so you have 500 feet of non-usable water in that hole. So it kind of didn't make any sense to me why you drill down 1,000 feet, except you're looking for more water, obviously. So that's my latest, one of my best stories right there. So that's it.
Yeah. So how many wells have you done this year?
I've done 30.
That's pretty good for considering.
I've down 30. Yeah, but don't forget we're in a drought. We've been in a drought. And I think, and Sue could probably attest to that. Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont. We've been in a pretty good drought here this summer. So I've done a lot of them. 30. I probably did 20 some odd, 27 I guess. Back when I had the last drought. But I usually average like a dozen or so a year, anyways. But 30 was a lot this year that I've done. So I don't know altogether. I have no idea. I may have done over the years, but yeah, whatever. I did what I did, I guess. I've done what I've done.
So in all these years of dowsing, like almost 50 years, right?
Yeah, 49 years.
Yeah, so what's your largest producing well that you dowsed?
The one I know of, it was done 2 years ago in Troy, Vermont, at a farm. They milk 1,500 head of cattle a day in Troy, Vermont. It's two brothers that own the farm. To my knowledge, like I say, I have 5 artisans that I do know of. This well I did at this farm here. This was 2 years ago. I did the farm, and then this. Well, I actually did the house that one of the farmers grew up in. This year, actually, did one of the wells I've done this year for. That he grew up in actually. By Lake Memphremagog. It's up in near Newport. That well that I know of that I could told about, that they told me they got 120 gallons a minute. That's the most that I know of.
That's excellent.
And the other ones, the 2 artesians are 90 gallons a minute, I was told, and whatever type of deal. That I do know of that actually overflow, and they put a pipe on to run the excess water off and whatever. Like I did tell you this, Sherry. I did tell you this story. I'm pretty sure I told you about the well from hell. I told you that, right? I told you that story. The well from hell. A guy called me up and said I got the well from hell.
Oh yes, right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Because it ran down his driveway, and kind of made a rut in his driveway because the water was overflowing out of the well, and so he called up.
Because he had so much water, and it was an artesian, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a true artesian, and it come run down his lawn and onto his driveway and wash down the rut down the side of his driveway, and then down over the hill it went. He told my wife that. He called up, and I wasn't home, and she said, "You tell your husband that I got the well from hell." And she kind of, what? What do you mean? He said, "Oh, you should tell him I got the well from hell." And that's why he called it that, because it washed down his driveway, I guess. So that was a good one. So anyway, that's about it that I can tell you. As you well know, we all got stories. We all got different stories of, different experiences, I guess. But that's, the one in the 2.5 gallon one was, like I say, was a good one for me because I was really sweating it. I was really sweating it on having a dry hole. If I have a dry hole, I'm going to tell you all if you're on this phone call here. If I end up with a dry hole, I don't know about how your experiences are, but I'll probably quit dowsing because if I do end up with a dry hole, then obviously it ain't working for me no more. I don't know if any of you others had a dry hole after dowsing for somebody or not.
So are you saying you've never had a dry hole?
I've never had a dry hole drilling. I did have a spring. I call them springs. Something you dig with a excavator or backhoe. I classify it as springs, not wells. Drill well or dug spring. I don't call them wells, even though technically,
Right.
I guess they are wells, but I call them springs. And I have had one I have had a spring vein that we never got. We had a small backhoe there, and in the area, it was at a camp actually, just up the road from where I live, and that I've done. I've dowsed 2 or 3 others up in that same area, and they all got their water, but this one camp that I dowsed on for a good friend of mine, obviously. They're all friends up there. They're all really good friends up there in the whole area. And I dowsed a spring vein for him so he could have a spring water. And we had a small backhoe, and we never got it. I never got that water, and it haunts me to this day. But as far as the drill well goes, I have not had a dry drill hole that I know of.
Great. Fantastic.
Well, yeah, but like I say, if I do, I'll probably stop dowsing, because obviously if I have a dry drill hole, and then obviously it ain't working for me no more. I don't know if anybody
when
else.
When you get a call, Doug, what do you do to get ready to go out and douse? Do you map douse, or what do you do?
No, I just go there. And as a matter of fact, that's on one of my. I got a couple of questions here too that I was going to ask different people on their procedure. I guess I don't map douse or nothing. I just find out their address and go there and ask them where their septic system is and the leach field and whatever. I do know this in the state of Vermont now. If you're going to build a new house, you have to have an engineer come to your house, and you can have your plot where your house is going to be. But he literally determines on where your septic system is going to be and where your well area is going to. You're going to have to drill in this area that he marks, literally with a stake. I've done 3 or 4 already this year. Well, not 3 or 4. I've done probably 8 or 10 that the new houses that the engineer has been there and put a stake in and say, well, your well's going to be in this area. And I said, well, how much leeway do I got? And he says, the homeowner or the contractor says, well, you got, maybe, 5 feet either side of that stake. And I go, holy smokes. I mean, that's pretty tight. I said, what if I find one, 10 feet away? He said, well, maybe we can move it over there or something. But that's what happens in Vermont now. You've got it's all done by an engineer. They tell you where your septic is going and where your well is going to be, and the area your well is going to be in. But I just go. I get the address and I go and I ask people, okay, where's the septic going? And all that stuff. Like when we talked about this, Sherry, that 50 feet, to your septic tank and 100 feet to your dry well, Vermont regs.
Right.
But I just go, and literally that's a question I actually do I do have on my little question list here for you people that are on this line, on this conference call here. What do you do? What do some of you people do when you get to a location that you're gonna douse in?
Sharon, can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I hope somebody does.
This is Susan Spooler, and I'll get a map. I'll create a map that I find online of the property, and I'll do a little bit of map dowsing on it. But what I do is I'll ask 8 questions. I'll ask for does this property have potable water that tastes good, that smells good, that's there year-round, that's an appropriate depth, appropriate gallons per minute, easy for the well driller to get to, and beneficial to all who drink it. And then that is when I will then map douse it, and then find an area where there's a vein, and I'll ask if the people already have. I'll ask people if they already have septic. I also have them check with their health department to find out how far their well has to be from the property line, from the septic, from any structure, being a house or a barn, and then go from there, because there's a lot of times people don't understand that. They don't know that they need to, And you're saying that that in Vermont they're saying that the engineer has to stay within a certain region. Well, if you have to go outside of that region for some reason, then you have to go to the health department for a variance outside of an area that, say, if it's too close to the septic or too close to a property line. I'd rather, be too close to a property line or a home or a barn than I would for septic. And so that's what I do. And I found an app that's called XHunt, the letter X, H-U-N-T, and it will tell you where you are and whose property you're on. It's a GPS, it's a global positioning system program, so then it will tell you if you're on, whose property you're on at that point when you're dowsing.
Okay.
So,
well, I actually don't ask any of those questions when I leave the house. I just go there and ask them where the septic's going to be and this and that. And if an engineer has been there, which most of them have, if it's a new house, and then definitely, and the engineer's been there, because that's what happens in Vermont now. They really determine where your septic's going here and there and whatever type deal.
That's
There's
good.
been a few that said, well, I don't know, just put it right here. I want my well over here. And I go, well, then I asked them, I said, well, where's the septic going to be? And they tell me, and then I tell them it's got to be at least 50 feet and 100 feet and all that stuff. But if they don't,
every town has different specs.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's all it's a state of Vermont thing. It's all the state in Vermont. It ain't town deal. It's the whole state. It's a state regulation. Anyways, that's good.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't map Dell, so I'm doing that stuff. But I don't. I mean, we'll have at some point like a list of all these different things you asked. Because Dylan said the same thing. He said, "Boy, she had more stuff than I could imagine." And I said, "Well, listen, I come there, I got a stick, and that's it." But anyway.
Well, not everyone's good at every tool, so that's why when I teach, I'll teach all the different tools. Some people prefer one over another, so I want people to be successful when I'm teaching them how to dowse. So.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I've been trying to get some younger people that I've dowsed for to get involved in it. When recently here, one of the wells I've done here, younger guy, it's just like he had some, the rods, what am I going to call them?
L rods or Y rods or?
Yeah, the L rods. He had some L rods, and he said, "Oh yeah, I can do the." He did that in his backyard here, where I marked the spot. But he was out there and doing his thing, where the water line goes to his house from the spring. That this is one of the deals that dried up here this summer. He went there and he said, "Well, yeah, this is the the water line going to my house and stuff." And I watched them and crossed and stuff. And I go, "Well," I said, "What am I doing here then?" Whatever type deal. Well, I'm not confident. And I go, "Well, either am I." But so anyway, I'm really going to pursue him because. I mean, there was no doubt about they definitely crossed when he got to this water line, which I ended up checking after, and it says, "Boy," I said, "we got to get together. You got to take this up or something because the only dollars that I know of, and this is a cherry deal here, is John Wayne." That I know of in this whole area up here, and he's old. He's older than I am, so we're dying up here. This is a
well. That's why over the past 30 years that I've been dowsing wells, and I'm 57. That I make my own L rods and Y rods. I make them out of polypropylene. I give people L rods. I give them the Y rods. I give them the Letter to Robin, and I teach them how to dowse, as well as finding their well site. So I've been doing that for many, many years. And some people are interested, and some people aren't. They just want their well site. They don't care.
Yeah, well, you're right, exactly. And I've had other people, try it and all. Can I try that? And I goes, absolutely. And they take it and away they go. And the trouble is they expect what I find is they expect the results that they see that they're getting. That I can't hold on to this piece of plastic I'm using, whatever. They see that, and what the problem is when they try it, and I've done that with a lot of different places I've gone, women and men for that matter. They try to take my stick and they try it. Well, nothing happens. So they say, I guess it's only going to work for me, and off they go. And I said, well, that's not necessarily true. I said, you can't expect all this to happen, even though it does with some people, obviously. Like obviously that's what happened to me, but some people it just don't happen like instantly like that. That I don't think anyway. Because they may be thinking about what am I going to have for dinner tonight, type of deal.
Right.
And, so I sort of tell myself.
You take one piano lesson, you can't expect to play a concerto after that.
Exactly. Yeah.
One lesson. That's what I tell people. So.
Yeah. So so they get discouraged or they say, oh, it don't work for me, and off they go. And I said, well, you shouldn't take it that way, And I tell them, I said, I said, get a coat hanger and make some L rods out of a coat hanger, and at home and and try to find water lines going into a house that you don't know where it is, And that's basically how I started. In reality, is even after I bought my stick that day, I made some coat hanger L rods and I'd find water lines going into businesses or houses and stuff that I had no idea where they were. But I'd ask the owner, I said, where's the water going to the house? And he said, right there. And I go, cool. And that's how he started.
Yep.
And away he went, and here I am, 49 years later. So
thank you for your stories.
So how about, can I ask some more questions here? I'll get another question.
Sure.
So how do I get to be more accurate on my depth in gallons per minute? I know me and Sherry kind of touched that a little bit when we talked the last time.
Well, do you use charts, or sometimes I hear the number in my head, or I'll have a chart, or I'll just kind of hook my fingers together. I'll touch my middle finger to my thumb, and then my other middle finger to my thumb, and I'll hook those together, and then I'll just get a sense of how many gallons, and I'll just I'll be pulling my fingers apart, and then when I get to I'll hear the number 265, for example, and then I'll just kind of pull on my fingers. I'll go 250, 260, 265, 270, and then my fingers will pull apart at 270, and then I'll just count it 1 gallon at a time. 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 265. Then my fingers, and then my fingers will come apart. And so that's how I'll fine tune that. So that's what I tell people. If you get a I sense these things, or I hear them when I'm dowsing numbers.
Okay.
Same with the gallons per minute.
Yeah. Well, I've never tried the finger deal, so that may be something new I may explore.
Yeah, sure.
I get all my answers from my stick. I just ask, a gallon a minute, 2 gallons a minute, 3 gallons a minute. Will this vein produce at least a gallon a minute to right up to, I get to 10 gallons, and then I go to 20 gallons, 30 gallons, 40 gallons. And the same with depth. I start at 10 feet, 20 feet, right up until wherever, until it stops going down.
Do you only use a Y rod when you douse? Do you use an L rod or a pendulum?
No, I strictly
you're
just
just a Y rod?
Y rod.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't get anything out of my the L rods other than a vein or a water line. That's all they tell me. And tell me what direction it runs in. It tell so they go on different angles of whichever way it's running. It'll tell me that, but I have no idea how you'd get gallons a minute or how deep they are out of a L rod.
Well, I always have I'll have a chart with me, or I'll just have a pretend like on my left side will be 0, and my right side will be 500 for feet, and then I'll have the L rod, and I'll have it straight, and I'll make sure the L rod's pointing to my left, and I'll ask how many gallons per minute, and then the rod will go like say halfway across, and that means for how many feet, and then if the rod ends up pointing right in front of me, that's about 250 feet, and then I'll do it for gallons per minute. On the left will be 0, and the right will be, I'll ask, is it more than 50? And if I get no, then I'll have, the rod will then kind of move to, and then I just pretend I have an invisible chart in front of me or a meter, and then that's where I'll get the reaction as to where the rod stops.
Okay, so after you've had that well drilled and you get the results of it, how close are you to your gallons, and how close are you to your depth? I've been
exact. I have a well driller on Martha's Vineyard that I've dowsed for, and they wrote on the customer. They wrote on the stick how many feet per minute, how many gallons per minute, and the well driller came and drilled, and then he called me, and he said you were right on. So.
Well, that's what I'm looking for. I like to be closer than I am.
Just paying attention. Just paying attention, and then just being confident and knowing that you're right, and not second guessing yourself.
Well, I get the answers. I get my answers. I ask for gallons a minute, whatever. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be unfortunate. Actually, it's a fortunate deal. One of the ones I did here recently, 3 weeks ago, probably at the most. My depth went bad. I think I was off like 15 feet on depth. But I figured
sometimes you can't help that if the well drill is using bentonite. You know what bentonite is, right?
Yeah.
Bentonite is it comes in sacks like cement, and then they'll add that to well drillers will use water to as a lubricant when they're drilling, but then sometimes they'll use bentonite. Bentonite is used for constipated horses. And so what happens is they'll put too much, and then as they're drilling, it will block off any veins that are shallower than what you stated, how many feet down,
right.
And then it takes 24 to 48 hours for those veins
out,
to then to flush out and loosen up, and then you get a lot of water. But if the well driller is not ethical, they're there, they charge you by the foot. They're not going to, because there's a company called Skillings that's in here in New England, and if the person tells them they're using a well driller, they just poo-poo it, and they will refuse to drill where they said, or a well driller or a dowser has said to drill.
Yeah, well, that's true. I asked, there'd be people, if I, see that they're going to drill a well type deal and I've asked, different landowners up property owners are going to build a house and stuff. I've asked them in the past, do you object to a dowser, dowsing a well for you? And most of them, be my guest, that type of attitude. So.
Do you still have is it Minosh up there? It was by gosh Minosh. There was a well driller by that name.
Yes, there is that. That's out of Morrisville.
Okay.
Yep. They're out of Morrisville. Minosh is. Yep. They do a lot of drilling in this area too.
Good.
Even on Burke area. So here's another question for somebody, anybody for that matter. So let me tell you this: drillers up here, way up in my neck of the woods, don't like us. They don't like us dowsers,
Nope.
and it ain't just me. They don't like dowsers, period. And my theory is this: they want to drill a 400-foot hole and not a 150-foot hole. So they don't care for us. But here's the deal: this well was just drilled here recently, just down the road from where I live. So the driller comes up to a piece of property, like I said, just down the road from me. This well was drilled, and I never get this chance to see the owners. It's a brand new house. A driller comes up, go to that property. And I've never dowsed it, and I don't know if anybody else dowsed it for that matter. But a lot of times they don't landowners or homeowners or whatever don't have a dowser, so the driller just pulls in and says, "Oh, okay, I'll drill it. Where you want it? Oh, over there would be good." And he backs up and he drills away, and 90% of the time up in this area, they get water. So why is that? I mean, it's like taking a stone and throw it over your shoulder and go drill on that stone, and the way they drill, and sure enough, they get water.
Because they are dowsing, but they're not going to tell you that. That's the same thing with Jim Kubelback.
You think these well drillers? You think these well drillers are dowsing it before they drill it?
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
some of
maybe.
Some of them are dowsers. I've taught several drillers to douse, and they use the dowsing prior to drilling, because they'd rather, even though they charge by the foot and they drill a dry well, they're still going to charge you.
Yeah, well, I know that.
But if the thing is that they, you drill, they douse the well, and then they drill, and then they get water, then that person will, then say, oh yeah, this well driller was honest, and he, got me water.
Yeah. Well, some of them maybe use dowsers or douse themselves, I guess, but the ones I know of, don't. I mean, they don't. That I know of anyway.
If you want to talk to another man, Jim Kubelback out of St. Joseph, Minnesota, he's also another person, another dowser, that's told me that he's watched the driller, back up, pull forward, back up a little bit more, and then stop. Well, what are they doing? They're dowsing. They're dowsing with their trunk. Or they're just dowsing, and then they drill, and then they get the water.
Oh, no kidding. Well, interesting.
So if you need a man's opinion, you can ask him for a man's opinion.
Yeah. It just seems kind of odd that they, they just back up and start drilling away, and away they go, and next thing you know, oh yeah, they got water here, they got water on that one, they got water on this one. I've gone to wells that drillers have gone to up in New Hampshire actually. That didn't get no water. That they had a 600-foot hole, and there was no water. There was no water to be seen around that hole that I could find anyway. Eventually found some eventually, and they drilled on it eventually. But so, anyways, it's just a question. I said, they just back up, start drilling, and sure enough, they got water. It's like that's pretty lucky, I guess.
That's right.
Seems like more times than not that they get water to me. But anyways, I got one other question for whoever. And I guarantee you've all heard this question, or know of this question, I guess. Why does it work?
We have 12 sets of receptors in our body.
Sherry,
I can't answer.
Sherry, wait a minute. Sherry, you can't answer. You already given me your answer before, so you can't answer this.
Okay.
So who have I got? Sue again?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
we are mostly made of water, just like the Earth. Earth is over 75% water. And we also have receptors in our body that will pick up on water or on anything. We all have our gut feeling, our gut reactions, our intuition, and that's where and animals do the same thing. They rely on their intuition. How do birds, know to fly south for the winter or come back north?
Yeah.
How do the monarch butterflies know where to go? And
I don't listen. No offense here. I don't want to know about the butterflies. I want to know why this works.
Why? Because we have what makes it work is that, well, I'm an engineer, but that's okay. That we have, like I said, we have these receptors in our bodies. We are like a radio. We are picking up signals. Like you dial on the radio, you get a certain frequency, AM, amplitude modulation, FM, frequency modulation, and so you're tuning in. Dowsing is focused intuition. So you're focusing in on, I need to find a well site. I need to find water for these people.
Yeah.
And it's because you are asking, that's why I ask specific questions, so that I get my customers what they need. They need water at a certain depth. They need so many for the size of their family. They need it to be there the year round. They want it to taste good. I've done wells out in Saratoga Springs, New York. People have a problem with it smelling like sulfur, like rotten eggs. You want that for your water? Of course you don't. So you're asking for the best possible scenario.
Right.
So you know what you want, and that's what you get.
So why can't everybody do it then?
Well, because why can't you play the piano? Why can't you play the violin? We all have talents in different ways. Some of us have better memories than other people, and then some people just aren't interested.
Oh,
I don't want to be a hunter because I think it's gross.
Okay.
Why is anybody? It's all about your own interest, and I use I douse well sites with people. I find missing people, missing pets, missing items. I'm good at it. Why? I don't know. It interests me. I want to help people.
Yeah.
Ask yourself why do you douse? Why do you douse wells for people? Tell us.
So
right
I can
now.
help. Yeah. So I help them out. So I can help them out. Obviously.
There you go. You want to help people. Why aren't you a doctor? Why aren't you a dentist? Why aren't you a nurse?
I ain't smart enough.
It all comes down to what your interests are and where, sometimes these things just, dowsing came to me at Stonehenge. I didn't go looking for dowsing. I didn't go looking for the American Society of Dowsers. Dowsing found me. So that's where.
It found me too, I guess.
There you go. Because you were looking for a dowser for your property.
I was.
There you go. Yeah. So focused intuition, and that's where it works, and that's why it works. We ask for what we want, and then that's what we get.
Awesome. I want $1 million. I ain't got it yet.
Why not? Why not? Do you feel worthy of that money? It's all about self-esteem.
Sure, of course, I'm a good guy. I don't mean from dowsing. I don't want no $1 million, right? I don't charge for dowsing, by the way.
What would you do? What would you do with $1 million if you had it? Would you have a big house? Would you have a new car? This is all part of dowsing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a big house. I'd just have a house up on the hill where I have a view so I can see the sunset.
So you can have that. Just manifest. Just state your intention, and then there'll be a situation. It'll just come to you. It'll just happen.
Good. I'll be doing that.
So I got my big house. That's what I knew what I wanted. I got a wonderful husband. I have a big, huge, beautiful house, and people would come visit me, and I have what I want.
Awesome. Yeah. I just want a view. I'm a view person. I need a view.
There you go. Well, then you just know you have it. Speak in the present tense. I have a house with a beautiful view.
Yeah, but I don't have that yet.
No. So you're saying not yet. So you're looking to the future. You want part of manifesting is in the now. Just state that you have it now, and the universe can't help but give it to you.
Oh. Well, boy, I hope you're right.
I am.
Yeah,
anyway.
Susan did a class on this not too long ago. It was interesting.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
Manifestation. You want to talk?
Okay. So far, so good. So how's it all been so far?
You've done a fantastic job, Doug. You're a wonder, and you're amazing. And I'm so happy that we get to have you on this talk.
Tell my wife that, would you? Wait a minute. I'll put her on the phone.
All right.
You tell her that.
Okay, Jeanette,
Anyway.
are you on the line, or are you ready to? Let's see, or either I think ask a question and then maybe do a wrap up. You there?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just curious, Doug, for yourself, would you say that you douse every day?
Me?
And if,
Is she talking to me?
yes,
Yes.
Mr.
You.
Norcount
Okay.
Dowsers. And I was just curious, even though you are finding these wonderful well sites for 5 decades, I was wondering, do you douse every day?
No. I do not.
So you just yourself in the prime position when there's a need, you're on target. And you're able to go and find people water, which is what we need.
Yes, I mean that I don't douse every day. When somebody calls me, when somebody calls me about coming to their property or whatever to douse a well for them, I pretty much go. Obviously, I think there's only a couple that I haven't gone to, and they've been in Connecticut, and Sue can attest to this. The one in Greenfield, Mass. That's 3.5 hours for me to get there. In Bennington, did you ever go to the one in Bennington, Sue?
Susan, did you go to the one in Bennington?
You never gave me that information.
Well, I told them
gave me that
give them your
information.
number. Okay.
Well, they never
whatever.
called me.
Okay. So to
But
get
I've been
back
to
to
Greenfield, and I've spent a lot of time with the young man, and I'm trying to teach him, and I want to mentor him.
Yeah. No, I get that. I just wanted.
Okay,
I
good.
sent you.
Good.
I told the people in Bennington. I give them your number also.
Okay. Well, I haven't heard from him, so because I call people immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see what happens.
So the lady had asked me if I douse every day. No, I don't. I only douse when people call me and ask me to, come douse for them, and they get my name off the website, or they call Danville, and the lady at Danville gives them my name. And that's the only dowsing I do.
That is
And
marvelous. This is fascinating because, from so many of our teachers, that many of us were instructed douse a little bit every day, but for you, it seems to be a natural affinity for you, and for you, just your body is primed, your mind is primed, and you just are set to find water for your clients.
I hope.
Excellent.
Yeah. I hope I do.
Uh-huh.
What's that?
That's excellent.
Well,
and
thanks.
so successful to be doing this for such a long time.
Yeah. Well, I'm delighted I can help people with it. I don't charge either. I don't have a fee. I don't charge. And they asked me that. Well, what's it cost me? And I said, well, this is how I do it. And I started this way in 71, I guess, whatever. I don't think I actually went dousing for clients or customers in 71. But after I got to the point where, that I was looking for wells and springs and all that stuff back then, maybe, 4 or 5 years after I started, before I started actually dowsing for veins of water for people. I just tell them that all I do is he asked me, what's it going to charge? And what do you charge to do this? I said, well, I don't have a fee. If you want to give me something for, for gas or travel time or whatever type deal, that's strictly voluntary. But I will not charge, and I never have, and I never will. And a lot of people do. And listen, I've got cases of beer left on my porch, bottles of whiskey left on my porch before in a note saying thanks for the water and stuff like that over the years. So it's been cool. It's been a cool experience. So that's how it works for me. But I won't charge. I never have, and I never will. So.
And then when you are walking up to the site where right before your Y rod starts to bend, can your body or are you sensing anything within you physically?
No, I don't. I just ask, if it's not marked, if an engineer hasn't been there and marked anything, and some I've gone to existing houses, of course, and homes and whatever, and there are wells of the springs. Well, I've done a lot of springs. I probably have to. I mean, not quite half, but half of the places I've been to this summer have been because the springs have dried up. Because it basically most springs are fed by the water table anyway. My theory is, anyways, which it is in Vermont. Basically, the water table is down, your spring goes dry. The water table, it rains and for 2 or 3 days, and guess what? I got my water back. Duh. But I don't do that. I nothing happens until I get to the site, and I ask them, if it's an existing house, obviously, and I just ask them, like, where would you like, where would you like your well? If you're going to drill, where would you like it to be? Well, over here would be good, over here would be good, and I just go in that area, and I basically start at, maybe a tree line or the edge of the, mowed part of the property or wherever type deal, and that's why I say, how do you know when you go to a spot? And do you know ahead of time where if you know ahead of time, like which direction I should be going in? Do I go across the lawn this way, and I get nothing, and I go across the lawn the other way, and if I, that's how I do it. I just start at one end and start walking, and just stick in front of me and holding on, like I said, hard as I can. I do tell you this: if there's a really good vein of water, a strong vein of water, a lot of gallons a minute type deal, it really starts pulling before I actually get to the vein. And then when I get over it, of course, it goes right down big time. But other than that, I don't feel anything until I get there and basically clear my head type deal, so to speak. And I just ask what I'm looking for, and away I go. And it just gives me, just gives me the answer, I guess, from that little piece of plastic I'm holding on to. I know you. There's no way I can stop this from going down. And I've had men. I'm talking men 6'2", 260 on a hoof, that I've been to in different home sites. And it's a quick little story. And this has happened over the years. Big. Let's say he's got Popeye muscles, whatever. He said, "Yeah, you're making that do that," and I go, "Well, actually, I'm not." He said, "Oh, you're full of baloney. That's a bunch of, what I'm talking about. That's a bunch of poopy and all this stuff." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Tell you what, why don't you come over here?" And this has happened to me. And this is God honest truth. This happened to me more than once. I said, "Why don't you come over here?" And so he'll come over and stand there, and I'll stand there, and I'll say, "Okay," and I'll have my stick in my right hand, and I'll say, "Okay, put your hand out here," actually it's on the left. I have my left hand, whatever. And I say, "Okay, this is what I want you to do. Hold on to that stick, your right hand and stuff like that." And I said, "Now hold right on to it." And the response is, "Don't worry, I got it." He goes, "Okay." So I backed up from the vein. I know the vein is out at that point, of course. I backed up from the vein. I said, "Okay, hold on to it. Don't worry, I got it." so because he's white-knuckled and whatever, and so am I. So we start walking to the vein, and we get, close to the vein or on the, close to it, onto it. And so down the stick goes. And I says, I thought you was going to hold on to it. Well, I couldn't. I go, duh. So, so the way it goes, so, it's, like I say, it's happened more than once. I've had people put on the end of the stick, and I've had other people, women and other men too. Can you show me that, or can I do that, and whatever? And I'll come over and I'll say, I'll do the same thing with them, and they're just, they're blown away. Basically, they'd say, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I couldn't hold on to it. And I go, well, that's what I feel every time I do it. So they're pretty surprised, I guess, or amazed, I guess, whatever you want to call it. It's cool. So, anyways, that's some of my stories, and we all got them. And they're great. I enjoy the heck out of it. And, as long as it works, people call me, I'll go, I'll show up. Simple as that. So I enjoyed it. Sherry, I'm glad you called me.
I'm glad I called you too. This has been really interesting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Maybe I can get in on another call sometime and listen to some other stories from other people.
Definitely. I hope so.
This is a good number I can use, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely
So your next talk is what's it going to be? December something.
December 21st. Yeah, 8:00.
Yeah. My time.
Eastern time, and 5:00 in California, Pacific time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
All
been interesting.
Great. Thank you very much. And just wondered, do you have any last-minute comments, Jeanette?
Well, yes. I want, first of all, thank you. It's laudable. Mr. Doug Easter has been doing this for 5 decades, and he has not charged. In fact, he's teaching people how to dowse with the Y rod, and it doesn't matter how big. Some people are still going to be amazed how amazing the dowsing will work. And we just thank you, Doug, for presenting, letting us know how you began dowsing, and just by, and you started dowsing right away. A gentleman taught you how to dowse, and then you needed to find the right tool, and you quickly learned, is this a dowsing tool for me? And it said no, and you just kept asking, and by the 4th time, you found the correct Y rod, and you've been going strong all these decades later. And it's amazing how you've been, teaching dowsing and going to various people's properties to dowse. And thank you for sharing that one experience. Some of us who have dowsed 4 hours, you have to really concentrate on that 4 hours. And, sometimes it will be hard, and there might not be water at every place, but you were able to find, the 5 gallons per minute well, or 2.5 gallons, but it took some time, and that it takes focused thought, and you did it, and your clients were able to get water as well. But then we heard the other extreme, the well from hell.
Yeah, well, Sherry knows that. Sherry knows that story.
Much water goes on the driveway and down the hill, and sometimes we need to both extremes, both examples, and so you were able to give us those examples, because we never know what we're going to be set for. And I want to thank you so much for giving us your procedure. You just basically find the address. You want to know where the septic and the leach field is going to be. It's super simple. Your mind is set to get water for your client, And that's the most important thing. You continue to do it, and if you wouldn't mind giving out your contact information where people can get a hold of you, Mr. Easter.
What do you mean?
Hey, do you want people to or email you?
Sure. I guess.
Okay, and then what's the best way to reach you?
If you want to email me?
Okay.
Or call me. People just call me. They get my number off the website, or from the Dowsers Association in Danville. Okay. A lot of people call there, and she gives them my name and stuff and my number. But I do have an email address, but it's usually done by phone call.
Okay, so Mr. Doug Easter would prefer phone calls for those of you interested in reaching out to Doug Easter, and you can find that at dowsers.org, and or also looking up as Vermont Dowser. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about Doug, there's an article under the Chronicle, bartonchronicle.com, and there's a picture of Doug dowsing, the Dying Art of Dowsing, and you can read a little bit more about him by Megan Wayland.
That's it.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, so I think we've just about reached a closing point here, and thanks a lot. I want to thank everybody who joined in on the call, and I have a final comment that I want to leave with you, and I actually was going over some of Inez Lindsay's emails that she sent me this year, and this one just caught my eye, and she sent this to me on February 11th, 2020, and I'll just quote it here, what she sent me, and she said, "Be grateful for every moment of your life," end quote.
Aww.
So God bless you, Inez, on your next life, or your life as a skydowser. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody who has joined us today. And so
Thank you.
I think what I'll do is I'm going to open it up right now, and if you want to say something to Doug and thank him for everything that he's done today for the talk. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you now. Thanks, Doug. Thank you for your talk.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you, Doug. Thank you for your time.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
God bless everybody, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
See you all next month.
Good night, everybody. See you
night.
December 21st.
I'll probably tune in.
For those of you who are interested in dowsing, tomorrow Tick will be interviewing, or we'll have Darlene Shadbourne, the dowsing numerologist, on tomorrow with ASD, and it will be a Zoom conference. And you can look at dowsers.org for the information regarding that. 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard.
So who is that, Jeanette?
That is Darlene Chadbourne. Tomorrow night, on dowsing and numerology, how they belong together.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting.
You know, Pearl Nicolino always said that dowsing and numerology were the two great things that she learned in her life, and she's still going strong.
Yep.
What, she's going to turn 98 next month?
That's right.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Wow. Good for her. Maybe
Yeah,
we could
no
do
kidding.
Maybe we could do like a card, or have everybody send her a card for her 98th birthday. Just kind of.
Well, I went and tap dance. I flew out and tap danced for her on her last birthday,
Yeah.
two birthdays ago.
Yeah,
That's a
like
great idea. Send her a card, yeah.
Give her
Yeah.
a card flood for her birthday.
Okay, who's
Yeah.
this talking?
This is Teresa Gonzalez from Tucson Dowsers.
Okay.
Yeah. So is there a way to get her physical address?
Oh, we
Yeah.
have it.
Yep, I can send it to you. I can send it to you, Teresa.
Okay, that would be good. And what her day is, and that way we can get it to her on close to her birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming up in what, about 2 or 3 weeks?
Yep, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool. So if I can push the Tucson Dowsers monthly meeting,
Sure.
which is going to be December, the first weekend in December at 1:30 on Mountain Time, and it's going to be Robert Gilbert doing French medical radiesthesia and Egyptian biogeometry and how to detect and balance energy fields.
Excellent.
So anyway, hope you all
Wow.
are there.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you email me, I can put that in our newsletter.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Welcome.
All righty. Well, it's good hearing all your voices.
You
Good
too.
job.
Glad to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks. And connect with you all soon. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks. All right. I'm saying goodbye now. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Good night.